I never thought leaving home for deployment would feel heavier than the gear on my back. Before I left, I walked through every room of my house, memorizing the creaks in the floorboards, the way the morning light hit the porch, the smell of old cedar from my grandfather's tools in the shed. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine, and I earned every nail and brick in it. Welcome to Prodigy Tales. Make sure you like and subscribe for your top-notch HOA drama. Karen, the HOA president, acted like she owned the whole neighborhood. She complained about my truck being too military looking, my flagpole being too tall, and once she even suggested camo paint offended the community's aesthetic. I ignored her most of the time. I figured some people need power like oxygen, and she was one of them. Still, before I left, I filed my deployment papers with the HOA and the county, just so no one could claim I abandoned anything. The morning I shipped out, she stood across the street, arms folded, pretending to water her roses while watching me load my duffel bag. She didn't say goodbye. She just smirked like she knew something I didn't. I brushed it off. I had bigger things to worry about than a bored suburban dictator with a clipboard. I hugged the silence of my front porch one last time before heading to the airport. My neighbors wished me luck, told me they'd keep an eye on the place. Even the mailman saluted. For a moment, I believed everything would stay exactly as I left it. But as the plane lifted off the runway and home shrank into a blur beneath the clouds, I couldn't shake a strange feeling in my gut. Like I just handed my life over to people I shouldn't trust. I told myself I was being dramatic. Out there in the sand and heat of deployment, you learn to let go of control. You eat when you can, sleep when it's quiet, and trust that the world back home isn't falling apart without you. I convinced myself that Karen would stick to her petty rulebook and leave my house alone. Before we dive in deeply, please let us know what country or city you're watching this story from. We'd like to know how far these stories travel. War zones are loud, chaotic, and terrifying, but at least you know who the enemy is. Back home? Not so clear. A few weeks into deployment, my phone started buzzing more than usual whenever I could get a signal. First, it was my bank. We've noticed unusual activity involving your mortgage account. Funny, because my payments were automated. Nothing should have been unusual. Then came the emails from the HOA. Well, not directly from them, because apparently courtesy isn't part of their bylaws. Instead, it was neighbors sending me photos of warning notices taped to my front door. Violations for overgrown lawn, neglect, and my personal favorite, property abandonment. I was actively dodging mortars, but sure, my lawn was the real crisis. I brushed it off at first, automated system glitch, Karen being Karen. But then my bank contacted me again, this time with words no deployed Marine wants to read. Foreclosure proceedings may begin due to unpaid HOA fines and unresolved violations. My stomach dropped. I called the bank from a satellite phone with sand still in my boots. They told me the HOA reported my house as abandoned and in debt. I explained I was on active duty. They said they'd note it, which is corporate language for we might care, we might not. That night, I sat on my bunk surrounded by dust, thinking about my front porch, my tools, my photos, everything I left behind. I emailed my commanding officer and requested emergency leave under the Service Members Civil Relief Act. He looked at me the next day and said, "Go handle your business. Come back when it's dealt with." It took 2 weeks for paperwork to clear. 2 weeks of imagining Karen pacing around my property like a vulture shopping for furniture. When my boots finally hit American soil again, I didn't even go home first. I went straight to the HOA office. Locked. Closed for administrative transition, whatever that meant. On the way to my house, I passed two neighbors. They looked at me like they'd seen a ghost. One of them whispered, You don't know yet, do you?" My grip tightened on my duffel bag. No, but I was about to. I pulled into my driveway and nearly forgot how to breathe. My house had a different car parked outside, toys scattered on the lawn, curtains I'd never bought hanging in the windows. It looked lived in, just not by me. I walked up to the door, heartbeat thudding like mortar fire. Before I could knock, a woman opened it, holding a cup of coffee like this was perfectly normal. She flinched when she saw my uniform. "Can I help you?" she asked. "Yeah," I said quietly. "This is my house." She hesitated, then shook her head. "We bought it from the HOA auction 2 months ago. The previous owner abandoned it." Abandoned. I almost laughed. I was dodging bullets in a desert while someone was selling my living room set. I didn't argue with her. She wasn't the enemy. She was just living in the mess someone else created. I stepped back, jaw tight, and walked straight to the HOA office. Karen was inside, feet kicked up on her desk like a queen in a plastic throne. She didn't look surprised to see me. If anything, she looked annoyed. I wasn't a folded flag in a funeral speech. "Oh," she said, tilting her head. "You're back?" "You sold my house." She shrugged. "You were gone. Grass dying, mail piling up. You didn't respond to notices." Then she smiled, like poison. "Honestly, I thought you'd die in combat. Would have made this easier." For a moment, I said nothing. Not because I didn't have words, because every word I had was dangerous. She slid a stack of papers across the desk. "It's legal. Property transferred. You can talk to a lawyer if you want, but it's done." I leaned forward. "This isn't over." She rolled her eyes. "It is for you. Move on. Be grateful someone else is taking care of the place now." I walked out before I did something that would put me in handcuffs. Outside, the wind was cold and sharp. My home was gone. My memories auctioned off, and yet all I felt was a strange, focused calm. She thought I'd give up. She had no idea who she was dealing with. I didn't scream. I didn't break anything. I did something far more dangerous. I made phone calls. First to military legal services, then to a federal attorney who knew the Service Members Civil Relief Act inside and out. Turns out, selling the property of an active duty Marine without a court order isn't just mismanagement. It's a federal offense. Within 2 weeks, Karen's confidence cracked. Investigators started showing up at the HOA office. Subpoenas dropped like artillery. Financial records, forged signatures, illegal foreclosure paperwork. Every lie she wrote down became evidence. The new family living in my house wasn't the enemy. They were victims too. They were refunded by the court and given time to relocate. My house, stripped, empty, but still standing, was legally returned to me. Karen was forced to pay restitution for every item sold. Every tool, photograph, and piece of furniture had a price. The law made sure she paid it. But the best part? Her own legal fees and fines buried her in debt. The HOA dissolved under state investigation. And Karen's house, her pristine, rule-approved palace, went into foreclosure 6 months later. I bought it. Cash. No ceremony, no announcement. I just signed the deed, walked into her old living room, and opened the curtains. It smelled like cheap perfume and expired authority. People ask me if I felt bad. No. What I felt was balance. My original home is mine again. I'm rebuilding it slowly. New walls, new memories. But Karen's former house? I turned it into something useful. A quiet housing space for veterans transitioning from service to civilian life. No HOA meetings, no pointless rules, just a front porch, hot coffee, and people who understand. Karen now lives in a rented apartment across town. She avoids me in the grocery store. No clipboard, no power, just silence. She thought I wouldn't come back. She thought I'd stay gone. She was wrong. The end. Please like and subscribe for more HOA showdowns like this day. Do you think she got what she deserves? Comment below.